What's up, guys? This is the Axial RR10 Bomber Rock Racer. So a few weeks ago we looked at the Axial Score trophy truck, very nice truck, and it shares a lot of similarities with the Bomber. Now Axial, timing this just so perfectly for Christmas, has released this new rock racer, and it's kind of a variety of the Bomber and the Wraith and the Yeti. So first thing, I mean, it looks pretty darn bitchin'. You get the full plastic roll cage. You got driver figures inside, like the trophy truck. You get the extra spare, big old massive tire back here, which you can kind of just take off and on with this big old plastic thumb screw. And kind of one of the highlights of this vehicle is the front battery mount, so you can easily pop it in and take it out. But before we get into that area, there's something that I've noticed about this truck, and I've had it here in front of me, and I've kind of just bounced it around a lot. Yeah, it has loads of articulation in the suspension. Now, if you saw the trophy truck video, the suspension on that thing was just super plush. It's the same shocks as these, the aluminum King shocks. Now, the rear end on this thing is super smooth. It doesn't have quite as much sag in the rear as the trophy truck, and that's fine. It's not supposed to. But the front end, I don't know if you can hear that. Both of these front shocks are missing quite a bit of shock fluid. It gets to a certain point and it's just air inside that shock. The rear, the same. I'm kind of puzzled because on the trophy truck it was super plush, like I just said, and it did not have this issue. There was no air in those shocks. They were completely filled with oil. I've looked here at the bottom around the spring cups, and there's no oil leakage or seepage coming from these shocks. So I don't think they were filled up completely when the truck was assembled. Not to take away from the shocks, because they are really nice shocks with threaded aluminum bodies, but it must just be kind of an assembly error that is unfortunate and really shouldn't occur. So on the front end of this thing, you're gonna get a solid axle. There's no independent suspension, and there's no differential. The rear is similar. You're gonna get the same thing. That kind of is what makes this more of a rock racer and really a capable crawler if you wanted to turn it into that. Now the body on this thing looks really good. It's basically a plastic tube frame that is screwed onto the chassis. Now to get this tube frame off is going to require quite a bit of work. It kind of reminds me of the Exoterra buggy, where it was a huge pain in the ass, and it's like the Wraith. Sometimes working on vehicles like that are not so easy. So there's lots of screws here assembling this frame onto the chassis, and basically you have these Lexan panels on the side for your hood, up top, and there's nothing in the back, but it's going to require a little bit of work to kind of get into this vehicle. Now, comparing that to the trophy truck, that thing is, you pop off 4 body clips and you're in there. Full access. And that's nice. So to get to the battery, you basically have 2 body clips here on the front. Let's pull one off. Pull off the other. I love these body clips. They have little plastic or rubbery clips on them, so you can, it's like a pull handle. So basically here, if I can get a grip on there, man. So this dude just flips up like so, which is pretty nice. And then inside, there's another mount that rests on the same body posts, and that also flips up to put your battery inside. Now what's kind of interesting, on the trophy truck we had a Dean's plug. And on this truck we have, I believe they call it a star plug. It is compatible with the Dean's plug, a T-style plug, whatever you want to call it. But it's made by a different brand. This is not a Dean's plug. We've got a little warning card in here. But essentially this entire inner slot is going to allow you to rest your battery inside. Let me grab one. So I've got my battery. Let's just pop it in there. And it rests right in there. Piece of cake. Let's see if we can put the door down. This is kind of difficult here, but so basically that's how it goes. It sits there right inside in the front, very similar to a Wraith. Now what's kind of interesting is that inside here in this battery compartment, I don't know how you can see inside there. I'm using the flashlight on my phone, but there are a couple of screws that moves the tray backwards and forwards, or towards the front or rear, depending on how thick your battery is. That's pretty much how you're gonna size it up. Now this system is quite a bit different than the trophy truck, but nevertheless it's super convenient. You pop 2 body clips and you get to the battery to put it in or out. Trophy truck, you're popping off 4 for the body and then another for the battery brace. So I've just spent a little bit of time just kind of looking over this truck because I wanted to take off this cage so we can get a look inside. You get a water resistant 150 ounce of torque servo, same as the trophy truck. You also get a water resistant motor. Now the ESC is waterproof, as is the receiver box holding the 3-channel receiver. Now the biggest downside to this thing, kind of like the Exoterra buggy, which you never see anybody using anymore, is this massive cage, this roll bar, which on one hand looks great and is really cool, but really prohibits your access to the internals of this vehicle. It probably isn't too bad to get inside of this vehicle once you get it down and you do it a few times, or maybe if you use an electric screw gun, it would make things very quick. So aside from the body, the 2.2 tires this Bomber comes with are really nice. They're glued on Baja TAs from BF Goodrich. They're really, they're pretty sticky, but they're not. I'm not sure what compound they are, KR2, but they are really tall and they look like pretty mashing tires. There is an insert inside somewhat. You can hear them vented and they feel like they would grip really well. You also get that 5th tire on the back, which you can probably just bolt right on. I'm not exactly sure about that. This truck is also compatible with the 2-speed tranny. You get the high and low gear. It's also compatible with the trophy truck. It's a nice system, but it costs a pretty penny and you have to buy it separately. Another thing that's really cool about this truck is that it has the shock mounts on the front and back to have a dual shock system, so you can have 2 shocks on each side in the rear and 2 shocks on each side in the front. Now again, you're buying more parts and it's gonna cost a pretty penny. So on the bottom side of this Bomber, you're gonna get a 4-link suspension on the front and rear. It's all plastic. It doesn't flex a whole lot and it feels actually pretty good compared to some other ready-to-runs I've felt. The drive shafts of the WB8s, these are plastic, but you do get some steel output shafts here into the axles. You also get a pretty nice skid plate here on the bottom. Now it's really missing that massive skid plate we saw in the trophy truck, but you just can't pull that off without having independent front suspension. On the front for the steering, you're gonna get plastic links. Now these are pretty flexy, kind of like a ready-to-run Wraith, but they're gonna do the job. They're just gonna flex a lot. Just for size comparisons of the Bomber, this is my SCX-10. And as you can see, the Bomber is quite a bit taller The 2.2 tires are taller. It is substantially, substantially longer coming out here ahead, but overall it's more like an 8th scale than a 10th scale. Most of you guys are going to be familiar with this size with the Yeti or Wraith, but there you go. So the bomber looks like a really nice rock racer. I personally would be more interested in seeing its rock crawling capabilities. I'm not a big fan of these big full tube frames, but on the flip side, it's the most durable solution you can put on these vehicles. Now the shocks on this particular model, like we saw, they're not filled with oil all the way. It's not going to be too bad of a problem to pop that cap off and top them off. But they should have probably been right out of the box. It's just a little manufacturer oversight that unfortunately sometimes happens. But all in all, the bomber looks really good. This tube frame, your interior driver pieces, these massive tires, big bumper, 5th tire. It does look really cool, and it seems super capable to kind of tackle a number of terrains. Whatever you want to do, rock, race, crawl, just freaking drive it through a stream. It doesn't matter. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video of the Axial RR10 bomber. If you have any questions or comments, leave it down below, and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. And be sure to hit that subscribe button for future RC videos. And until next time, peace.